Morning, everybody. It is 8:11 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Now, I've been out all week. I forgot to tell you guys. Um, Went on a little vacation from spring break from my daughter. We're back. We're gonna have a market close tomorrow because of Good Friday, and this Sunday's Easter. So this market is lost some volume. I noticed this week, and it's kind of been trading in a range. Definitely smaller ranges this week that I've noticed. And of course, we had some negative news, specifically from the China curb on that H20 chip, which is going to cost NVIDIA and AMD some pretty pennies there. So, and then Powell spoke yesterday, and he took down the markets a little bit, but we're just in this range. And we're inside that big day that I believe there was like an 11% candle. So we're still trading with inside that huge day. And that's what's going on. Today we have Netflix earnings after the close. This morning United Healthcare reported and they missed. So they are down almost 20%. That's what's bringing the Dow down. So some stuff going on today. We'll get into it. I'm not really in love with this market. I think this is all about this is Easter. Um, Maybe people ain't in this week, spring break. Volume's been lower. I think we get back into it next week, but we'll get into it. So, without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the week. Of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. And I also use market internals. All right, that help me find what's under the hood of the market. And I do this every day. This week I haven't done it, but I usually catch me every morning, give you the story of the markets, the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, and of course, go over daily charts and eventually long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Okay, and we'll do that in a little bit. All right. And of course, if you enjoy my content, please smash the like button. You can do it now or later. That would be much appreciated. And I think we can just look at what's moving markets today. Okay. All right. So it looks like crude's catching a bid finally. All right. I noticed that yesterday on my drive back up. I noticed that energy stocks were getting some love. So crude's up 1.34%, Nasdaq's up 0.75%, 10-year yield back up 0.65, Ethereum's up 0.50, ES up 0.45, Bitcoin's up 0.40, Russell up 0.20, the dollar is up 0.16, gold's flat. 30-year bonds being sold down 0.30, the Dow is down 1.52. That's because of United Healthcare. Silver's down 1.76, and the VIX is down 3.83%. All right, let's look at the Mag 7 Plus. Eli Lilly came out with a study, I believe phase 3, some trial, and they're up 11.48%. Okay, Netflix reports earnings after the close. Okay, Netflix is up 1.32%. Broadcom up 1.23%. Apple's up 1.08%. Meta's up 1%. AMD up 0.92. Amazon up 0.90. Google's up 0.85. Tesla's up 0.78. Nvidia up 0.58. Coinbase up 0.75, and Berkshire Hathaway up 0.49, GE up 0.44, JP Morgan up 0.37, Microsoft up 0.26, and Boeing is flat. Let's move on to sectors. All right, so semis were the loser yesterday. They are the leader this morning, up 1.16, followed by energy up 0.93, technology up 0.78, financials up 0.54, communications up 0.51, discretionary 0.43, industrials up 0.38, real estate up 0.38, staples up 0.12, utilities up 0.08, base materials up 0.04, and healthcare down because United Healthcare down 1.04%. Okay. Now we're going to get into some economic calendar and some news. right, let's look at that economic calendar. And today looks like we just have building permits, housing starts at 8:30, initial jobless claims, Philly Fed at 8:30. Okay, Fed bar speaking at 11:45. That's what's on today's tap. Remember, tomorrow market's closed. All right. Let's get into some news. Actually, let's move on to just real quick this earnings before the open. TSMC reported, United Health Group, American Express, Ally Bank, DR Horton. All right. Now after the close, you got Netflix. All right. So that's the major one after the close today. That's that. All right. Moving on to our news. Here's the United Healthcare shares tank as insurer cuts forecasts on higher medical costs. Let's see here. There's Eli Lilly pill leads to 7.9% weight loss in late stage trial. Shares jump. Eli Lilly said his experimental pill orforglipron led to weight loss of nearly 8% at the highest dose and lower blood sugar for overweight patients with type 2 diabetes in a late stage trial. Blackstone's first quarter profit rises on robust private equity credit performance. Let's see what else here. Wall Street futures edge higher as investors reacted positively to early stage trade talks between U.S. and Japan. Nikkei 2 rebounded on the news, while weaker yen supported sentiment. Meanwhile, European markets were mixed, with attention turning towards corporate earnings and the European Central Bank's policy decision later in the day. The euro slipped ahead of the ECB's anticipated rate cut, while the dollar firmed. Oil prices climbed to 2 week highs after the U.S. imposed new sanctions on Iran, raising supply concerns. Gold prices eased from the record highs as investors locked in profits. On the economic calendar, all eyes on the U.S. building permits, housing starts, and weekly jobless claims. All right. Taiwan Semiconductor, the world's largest contract chip maker, gave a bullish outlook for the year on the robust demand for AI applications, adding that it had yet to see any change in customer behavior, spending, and forecast artificial intelligence chip revenue to double. Okay. Talked about the United Healthcare. Ford Motor Company, the automakers, are recalling more than 148,000 vehicles in the United States as part of two recalls. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said Ford will recall 123,611 vehicles due to a fluid leak that could reduce braking performance. Intel, the American chip maker, has informed Chinese clients that it will start needing a license to sell some of its advanced artificial intelligence processors, the Financial Times reported on Wednesday. All right. It said NVIDIA. CEO Jensen Huang said that China was a very important market for NVIDIA after the U.S. imposed a ban on sales of its H20 artificial intelligence chips to the country. We hope to continue to cooperate with China, Huang said that in a meeting with Ren Hongbin, head of the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade, according to China's state broadcaster CCTV. Huang arrived in Beijing earlier in the day at the invitation of the trade organization. And it looks like Nvidia got a price target cut from 220 to 200. Netflix Piper Sandler assumes coverage with overrate rating and target price of 1100. Abbott Labs Jeffries raises target price to 137, 135. All right, that's what's going on there. I don't believe the juice has anything. Oh, wait a minute. All right, let's see. It says had a very productive call with President of Mexico yesterday. Likewise, I met with the highest level Japanese trade representatives. It was a very productive meeting. Every nation, including China, wants to meet. Today, Italy, Trump's Truth Social. Okay, so that's news from Trump. And where we're going to go now? I think we can go to daily charts. We're going to move to daily charts. All right. Give me one sec here. Alrighty. Let's see what we're doing here. Alright, so we know on my charts this yellow line is the 2024 anchored VWAP. We are still below that. Okay. Yesterday we came down. Where did we come? Right to this daily candle. Okay. This was from 4/11, April 11th. Okay. So we tested that low, got brought up here, right? So we're starting to form this little balance area. All right. Close underneath the 9 EMA daily. We're still underneath all major moving averages. I believe this has probably been in the news. You have a death cross on the SPY. So that's when the 50-day moving average crosses the 200-day. That is known as the death cross. Okay. When you cross above 50 crosses above the 200, that's a golden cross. So that's just a technical analysis thing to look at. That's generally looked as bearish when the 50 crosses the 200-day. Okay. Right now we're at five. Let's call it 529. All right. So the market closed at 525. We're at 529. So we are right about here in the middle of yesterday's session, which is just a crap place to be. All right. Let's look at futures to get a better look. Yeah, you can see we're right here in the middle of yesterday's session. Okay. So that's looking at the SPY and the ES. Now we're looking at the Qs. Let's see what the Qs are doing. Qs underneath that 2024 anchored VWAP. You can see they hit the 20-day moving average here and then close under the 9 EMA daily. Okay. Now that broke this day 411's low, but so it's not, you're not making the equal lows like we did in the SPY. Okay. However, where are we at now? We're at 448. We closed at 444. So close to the mid of yesterday. Close to the mid. Now let's look at futures. Okay. Futures, you can see this is yesterday's session, and we're right in the middle of it. Just bad. I mean, right off the bat, be honest with you. Like I said, lower volume today, going into Good Friday, last day of the trading week. It's actually OPEX today. All right. It's the monthly expirations. So a lot of money coming off the table today. So generally what happens, I forgot to put that in my card that it's OPEX. But generally, a lot of money will come off the tables today. And then, boom, new monthly expiry will come into play for next month. And I believe, let's just check the calendar here. It's the third Friday of every month. So that would be, the next one would be May 16th. May 16th. Okay? So, now generally in an OPEX, you get some volatility early, and then later in the day, you get what's called pinning. And that means any high gamma levels of any stock or index generally will pin towards that level just because of all the gamma. And dealers and market makers will have to keep that price at that large gamma level. Okay. So that's your futures. Now let's look at the triple head monster now. And that's the bond market. Now the bond market's been doing a little crazy stuff lately. So let's look at this together. Here's your bond market. So this crazy move here, you broke that downtrend. Okay. And you ripped up. Now what I've been told is this is from a basis trade that was had to be covered, and basically hedge funds had to sell bonds for this basis trade, basically like a spread trade, and that's why this move came about. All right, so that's now been a little bit taken back. You can see this big spike in yields. Now it's back to the 2024 anchor VWAP. Okay, we just have to see what rates are going to do. I still think we generally go lower, but who knows? I don't know, right? Let's look at the dollar. I'm sorry. Now I know the dollar went under 100. It's still at 99.6 right here. So you can see we haven't reached this level for a long time. Okay. So weaker dollar usually generally is good for equities, good for commodities. Okay, all commodities are in dollars. All right. So, however, though, right, this could be looking as a weakening of the U.S. dollar, the world's reserve currency. So, let's look at VIX and the fear gauge, right? So, obviously, we came all the way up to a 60 VIX. We've been pushing down, but now we're holding around 31. That's still a volatile market. There's still some fear in this market. Okay, still some fear. All right, now moving on. We're looking at that market profile and buying profile. I'm going to open this up here. Now, yesterday, you did have a big range day because of the news. Other days, I noticed there were tiny ranges. All right. So this is your market profile, your volume profile. All right. Well, let's just see what we did yesterday. So initially, we tried to go a little lower, pushed up, actually right to this gap, the bottom of this gap. Okay. Let me see if that gap was made. No, that was the gap down from that day. So forget what I said there. That's the gap. Okay. And then you got Powell speaking, and you ripped. You have some single prints there. Okay. And then you pushed all the way down into this demand zone, popped up, closed right there. Okay. That's what happened yesterday. All right. And basically, you can see this little range happening here from 59.50s. I'm sorry, not 59. 54. Let's call it, you know what? Let's just call it 5,500. Let's make this better here. 5,500 to now you have this to 52.50. It's kind of been this area, right? Now you do have this big candle here, but that's okay. You really do have like a pushed up, tried to break out, couldn't, right? Went lower. Where did you go? Right to this candle, 52.50. Bounced up, price is here, right? So now, if shorts cover today, this could be a move back up here. I don't know. Okay. You can see yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows, midpoint 53.26 of yesterday. Look at that. We're at the midpoint of the overnight session, the midpoint of yesterday. Oof. That is a chop zone, boy. Okay. That is a chop zone. Middle of the middle. Okay. Most traded price of the week is 54.60. Most traded price of yesterday was around 53, probably 05, it looks like. And you have a month to date VWAP that is very flat, which just indicates what the market's been doing. Just been moving sideways. Okay. Just been moving sideways. Okay. Now we do have some demand here. We do have a demand zone here, a supply zone here. But like I said, this is all about this balance area from 5,500 to the 52.50. Okay. And if I'm looking at this as a balanced range, and if we can't go lower, you're going to go move back up to this 5,500. Okay. Now, we do have some levels to talk about. It's this 53. Let's just get the real number here. I don't want to keep on guessing. 53.05. All right, so 53.05 to mark it off. Yesterday's most traded price, right? We have a demand zone here. Most traded price yesterday. We have value area low from yesterday, 53.01. So this area, immediate, and then this area is last defense here. Okay. Like I said, if the longs couldn't go higher here, took it down, right? And now the shorts, if they took profit here, and they should keep covering, we might get a rally back up here. Okay. Now we do have supply up here with the gap. Okay. Right here. Okay. So this is really all about today. Can we break this lower or does it hold? If it holds, I feel like we could get a rally. Okay. How much negative news can we take? That's the question you have to ask yourself. How much is this priced in with tariff news, right? Like how much more can this get that we already know it's uncertain. We already know that Trump has deals in the works. We already know we had a big drop. Is this all priced in? I don't know. I really don't. Are we due for some type of bounce? Probably. But like I said, when you have the news, keep chopping your legs out from under you. But we're not going significantly lower. Where do we go? Remember, went right to this low. So, and we're just at horrible trade location. Okay. So, with that being said, let's just get right into scenarios here. Pretty easy today. Let's go to the bull side first. Okay. And like I said, you got month to day view up right there. Flat. So whenever you're flat, even in the middle of a session, flat view ups mean range bound days, range bound market. Okay. You eventually will move away, but that's basically telling you this market's been flat. Okay. So what would I be looking for today? Get out of this chop zone. So you will. You're either going to go here or here. If we do decide to go lower, right, we could hit this demand and we can move up higher and try to fill this gap and try to possibly go to where 5460 or even try to hit this 5500 level, the top of this kind of area of resistance. Okay, even if you get a deeper pullback, might be a bear trap here. Come in here and you could also go up and try to fill this gap. That's what I think. Now your news just came out at 8:30. Who knows? The market's kind of like moving up a little bit, but this is a supply zone here. I don't know. Like I said, I'd rather get a pullback into here to see if we can go higher, right? Or that bear trap. All right, now looking at the bear side, right? Bear side, obviously, you got demand here. You got the unfilled gap here, and you got this area up here of resistance. Now, the market's job, if you are bearish, right, would be to try to come up into here, into this supply, and see if you can make your way up. If you hit, let's say, week to date view up at 5401, and you get some lower highs, you're going to try to test that overnight low in that week, that confluence low, right? Around 50, it's called 5300. If you break that, you're probably going to try to tag the yesterday's lows. All right, and this is where the market has to be super weak to do this. If you break this, yeah, this is not good at all. You're going to start chopping into and hit the single prints. Try to clean these single prints under 5100. Do I think that's possible? I don't know, right? But I don't look at that as the most probable. But you have to, who knows what news can come out? Who knows? Okay, that's what I'm looking at as far as there. Now, of course, the market doesn't have to push up here. It could just go straight back down and in this demand and try to work its way down. If you start accepting price lower, you possibly can move lower. But like I said, this is OPEX. I'm not sure, right? I think, usually after a monthly expiration, there's a change. There's some kind of change in the market. The following week, there's new money. All this money's coming off the table today. Okay, I didn't see how much. Doesn't really matter. So we know that monthly expiry is today. OPEX. Okay, so that is your ES. Okay, let's do NASDAQ. Let's look at our NASDAQ. Give me one sec here. NASDAQ. Let's open this up. Alrighty. Man, this has really been lagging with these ticks with the NASDAQ. It's so annoying. Come on. Okay. So NASDAQ. Alright, so the NASDAQ level, let's call it like around the 180-ish. These lows, right? 181 to about 179. That area has been support for the NASDAQ, right? Prices here. Here you have yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows, the midpoint, month-to-day VWAP right here. Okay, now the NASDAQ structurally is in a better spot. It's in a better spot, all right? And you have a confluence low here at 183.39. You have demand, value area low, and the overnight low right here in the midpoint of yesterday. So that's a very important level. All right, and then you have another important level. Overnight low lines up, overnight high, 186.52, lines up with the most traded price of yesterday. Okay. To the upside, you have an unfilled gap right there. And then you have this confluence high here. Also happens to be the most traded price of the rolling year up here at 192.55. So this level is very important. Okay, the market could not get over that. I stated that on this day. I said, wow, this big day went right up to the most traded price of the rolling year. Couldn't make it over. Try to make it over. Couldn't. Okay, I'm not calling for that big move today. I'm just trying to give you levels to play with. Okay. So that being said, let me just look at there's any more levels to talk about. It really is here immediately about the overnight session. Okay. And you're at value area low yesterday, overnight low. Value area high, the most traded price, and the overnight high up here, the confluence high. So there is going to be support or resistance at these lows or at these highs, or you're going to break down or up. So it's pretty good, a pretty nice setup for the NASDAQ. Okay, so we'll just get right into it. And we will go with scenarios here. Pretty easy here to really what I just said. Okay. All right. So price is here at 185.59. Okay. So if you're bullish, okay, price needs to drop down into this area. Okay, and what I say that level was 183.39 into this demand, into the overnight low and value area low yesterday. Okay, if this holds, you can get a push back up. Now that 186.14 level about, that's your overnight high. That's your most traded price of yesterday in yesterday's value area high. If you break this and hold, you're going to fill this gap most likely 180.84 and try to go up into this area around 192. Okay, I don't think below this. Now you could get a little bear trap here. You could dip below it and you could get support. It also could get the same move. If you decide, if the market decides to accept value lower here, that's not good. Okay, that's not good. But the market holds. I would expect these shorts to finally take some profits and then move higher. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing really as far as the long. Now, as far as the short, right? Let's talk about the short side. Okay, if this market comes up here, tries to break this confluence high and fails, right? Comes back through, get some lower highs. Your next stop is going to be overnight low, 183.39. Okay, that's your confluence low. What's the confluence? I said it before. Value area low of yesterday, overnight low, and this demand zone. Okay, you break that, hold, hold, hold. You were going to test yesterday's lows, 180. What is that? 181.16. Okay, if you break that, you have these single prints from that big day. That was emotional buying. You took back all that emotion except this single prints. You could come right down to 176. All right, what's under there? The most traded price of the week still. So you can come right back down to here if you break this level. Does this happen? I don't know. Okay, now what could also happen? I said we can push up. We could also just go straight down, break, hold, 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 and see how far we can go. Okay, this is what I would see to be the most likely. Don't have a clue what's going to happen today, but these are the scenarios. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that analysis. Smash the like button if you did. Okay, and hopefully, you could join me every day, every morning. I give you the breakdown of the market, the story, the economic calendar, the market news, the leaders and the laggards. Okay, we go over daily charts. I give you the long and short trade scenarios like I just did in the ES and the Nasdaq. Okay, and we have a plan. We have a plan today, right? Like I said, I'm not too excited about today, just because probably people took off already. I'm not sure. It's Easter. It's Good Friday tomorrow. It's this Sunday's Easter, so probably gonna keep that low volume, but I don't know. Okay, and I don't like where the market is right now in the middle of yesterday's session, in the middle of the overnight session. So, like I said, that could be difficult. So, but this is my 1 day back, right? My 1 day back, and we'll see what happens in the markets today. Okay, like I said, I think next week should be a little better. Maybe the volume ticks up a little bit. You just had a really high volume the last couple of weeks, and now, like I said, we're in spring break. So we have to see. All right, so everybody have a great day. And I'm just going to sit back and take the markets in today. Maybe I trade, maybe I don't. I don't know. If my plan comes out, then I should have some type of play. But anyway, everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend. Have a good Easter if you celebrate Easter. And I will see everybody on Monday.